He's a husband, he's a father, he's a small business owner, and a former volunteer firefighter. And now, Joe Preston wants to fight for the citizens of House District 112. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I speak exclusively with him one-on-one. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores.
Finally. I got you, Joe Preston. What's going on with you? I know you're running for South Carolina House Representatives. And I just read this article from Muji News, I believe March 27th, if I'm not mistaken. And it says this: local Democrat to challenge for State House seat that has not had a Democratic challenger for more than 20 years. And I know obviously you're running for 112. Tell me why, Joe Preston, why now?
Why now? Well, it all started, as most things did, with people on my side of the political spectrum who decided to get off the sidelines November 9th. And most people will tell you that it had to do with Trump being elected president. The thing that I found to be more of an issue was when I went to fill out my ballot and found that there were just so many seats that went uncontested. So what I did is I went back and did a little bit of research and found out for this particular seat, it hasn't been contested since 1996, which is way too long for one side of the political spectrum to be coasting to electoral victory in just a certain geographic region. And I think that was the motivating factor for me to get up off of the sidelines. Like I said, as so many other people of my political persuasion decided to do following the election of November of 2016.
And you talk about 20 years. What has the representation looked like for House District 112 in your mind?
I think I kind of just summed it up. I think that it's mostly individuals who have decided that they've wanted to be active in politics, who have basically just jumped into those seats and pretty much again just coasted on their personal name recognition, if you will, before the individual who is in the seat now, and he's been there since 2008. The individual who was there before him is now state senator from the same geographic area.
Right.
So I think that's a huge issue. From the Moultrie News article, as well from the Island Eyes News article, I basically state that it's a disservice to the voters when we have uncontested seats. They don't get to exercise their constitutional right to vote. Or their constitutional right to make a choice as to whom they're going to vote for. So again, that was the biggest motivating factor for me to get up off the sidelines.
Let me ask it a different way.
Okay.
What has the voters thought about the representation on Isle of Palms, Mount Pleasant, and Southlands Island for the past 20 years?
Oh, okay. Well, from what I have heard and been talking to with individuals about is basically what I had just said, where they are individually, personally sick of the lack of accountability toward those elected officials. I can tell you for the individual who sits in the seat currently, I have seen him out in the community one time since I've lived on the Isle of Palms, and I've been there for 7 years. So that's the main thing that I'm hearing about, is that there's a lack of accountability, and there's just a general air that these individuals are just coasting to their seat because of political party affiliation.
What will you do differently that the current representative that is can't?
Okay, well, like I said, it's about accountability. And I hate to sit here and continue to say his name or to differentiate myself against him, but the individual who's there currently, he has no social media presence whatsoever. You can tell I'm very active on social media. And I think that I'm much more open to be able to take in feedback from constituents where we're going right, where we're going wrong. Like I said, this individual, I have not even seen him out in the community except for once in the 7 years that I've lived there. So I think that's the biggest differentiator is there's a very open line of communication between myself and the constituency. On my personal business card, which I pass out to folks, that I'm using as a basic campaign material, it has my personal cell phone number.
Okay.
That's how open I want to be with the voters, and say that if you sense an issue in your state government and you want to hold us accountable, please do. We shouldn't only be welcoming that. We should actually be demanding that from our constituents to hold us accountable for what they want to see their state government do. Because ultimately, it's not about the people that we send, it's about the people back home whose decisions that we make are impacted by. And that's just the basic thing, is like I said, is the accountability.
Accountability, what other issues jump out in your mind when you think of the South Carolina State House and House District 112?
As far as accountability,
The other issues.
well, I mean, the things that I hear about when I'm out in the community are, of course, SCANA.
Yes.
SCANA is the big topic. There's a big mess out there in Fairfield County. The second issue is the government corruption in the Pasco probe. The fact that we've had 6 legislators who have been indicted so far. Some who have been sentenced, some who are still waiting trial. And the third biggest thing is education. U.S. News and World Report most recently had us listed as 48th in the nation for education. We were last year ranked at 50th. We actually moved up 2 spots, fantastic, but we're just ahead of New Mexico and Louisiana, which to me isn't winning. That's not really moving up a couple of spots. If they've moved down a couple of spots, I think that's what has occurred. So this is the 3 biggest issues that I think that face our communities. The one overarching concern that I feel is the fact that we're in a very coastal area, Sultan's Island, Mount Pleasant, being right up there along the Intracoastal Waterway.
Right.
And the other 2 bigger local issues happen to be overdevelopment. I think that's the biggest one. I think when you sat down with Ben Pogue from the 110th District, he talks about encroachments, which is, he's exactly right. That we're letting these developers encroach upon our natural resource for our area. And then the second one is climate change. I think no matter your political leaning or side of the political equation, there is a general consensus within the community that 1, climate change is occurring, 2, we're causing it, and 3, we don't want drilling off of our coast.
Okay.
So I think those are the bigger issues and the smaller issues that face the 112th district currently.
And as you know, I believe we have 4 days left in the South Carolina legislative session. What issue in your mind should they tackle now?
What issue should they be tackling versus what issue are they tackling? Unfortunately, currently they're using the last few minutes of the legislative session to attack women's reproductive rights. And what they really should be doing is tackling the issues that I've already laid out. They should be doing something about SCANA. We have to get the individual ratepayer to be not paying for what's going on with Fairfield County, as well as shoring up our education services. That's what they should really be focusing on. And unfortunately, what we see currently in both houses of the legislature is political posturing for an election season.
And you talk about those women's reproductive issues. Mm-hmm. What are those?
Well, specifically what they're speaking about is D&E abortion, is so-called dismemberment abortion. I understand that this is a very hotbed topic. Anytime you bring up those issues, each side goes to their corner. And I think that that's actually very indicative of where we are politically in the country. And that's, we tend to, when a hotbed topic comes up, whether it be Donald Trump himself, or it happens to be issues surrounding women's reproductive rights, that we each go to our corners and we just battle it out from the corners. And what we need is folks who are willing to separate from the corners and come to the middle. and compromise. That's what we don't see in our political, in the political arena today, and I think we need to get back to that. Our nation was founded on compromise. Initially, at the founding, we had our Federalists and we had our Anti-Federalists, and they hashed it out, and they got, one of the best, shortest, and declaratory position papers ever written, and we're still governing our country by 250 years later. So I think that's what's going on currently in the legislature is much more indicative of where we are as a country versus where we need to be as a country. Now, when we speak about those issues, specifically for abortion or D&E abortion, the so-called dismemberment abortion, these are medical procedures that do not occur often at all. They're actually very rarely performed. And again, I think it comes down to what we see as political posturing on one side of the aisle towards their voters, rather than coming to the middle and compromise to get something out of the legislature that looks more like the constituency at large, rather than just what their political side of the aisle thinks it should look like.
Now, if you were to be elected House Representative, besides accountability and all these other issues you just laid out, what would you do on day one?
It's funny because I was recently graced with the presence of Toby Smith. She's a candidate for South Carolina House of Representatives, first district for Congress. And the first thing that she said was, "I'm going to find out where the bathroom is," which I thought was the best answer that anybody could ever possibly give. Not only, but it lays out an air of pragmatism. That she, when she had stated that she was talking about more, I need to get my bearings. I need to find my legs first. I need to, find out where the bathroom is. I need to order office furniture and do things like that.
Okay.
Like I said, it's a much more pragmatic approach. I think there's a what I would like to do on day one versus what I may actually be able to do on day one. Now, what would I like to do on day one? I would personally like to get in there and see where each caucus is at, and say, okay, the Democrats are here, the Republicans are here. What can we work on to better the community that a compromise can be reached from each? Because, like I just spoke about, I think compromise is the big issue. The number one issue I think right now that we were just discussing surrounds environmental impacts of climate change, is that plastic bag ban. It's not really a plastic bag ban. What it says is that municipalities are empowered to make decisions themselves rather than having to go through the State House in order to have the State House make those decisions for them. I think it is in our best interest, not only as a legislature, but as constituents back home of those municipalities, to let them make the decisions that greatest impact their area, rather than have a decision come from on high. Mark Sanford says that the government that is closest is generally the government that governs best. And yes, I'm a Democrat, but I'm going to have to agree with Mark Sanford on that. The government that is closest is generally the government that is most responsive, and we need to allow them to be empowered to make decisions that impact their individual communities, again, rather than having that come from Columbia. So that's something that I feel very strongly about, that I think that we can get on top of on day one. Again, in the best case scenario, after we find the bathroom and get the office situation and meet the staff and meet my colleagues and find out after orientation, of course, because you do go for a couple of days of orientation after the election, and figure out where is my office going to be, and that's all that stuff. We have to worry about getting elected first before we worry about a lot of that. But again, as far as issues are concerned, plastic bag ban, or I call it the municipal autonomy bill. We've relegated it to being about plastic bags, and it has nothing to do with that, honestly. Because truthfully, what works here isn't necessarily what will also work in the upstate. What's good for Charleston isn't, or what's good for the Isle of Palm, Sullivan's Isle, Mount Pleasant isn't necessarily what's good for Greenville and Spartanburg.
Where is the public in this decision about about plastic bags that is?
Well, I think you've seen it. Folly Beach, Isle Palms, we've had a plastic bag ban. Now, I say this because I live on the Isle Palms, that we've had a plastic bag ban in effect for a little over 2 years now, and nobody complains about it. I think we've seen less trash in our waterways, and it's nice to go to the grocery store and have your items put in a paper bag. It's less to carry in at the end of the day. Yes, the bags might be a little more heavy, but there's less of them to carry in. And then they go right into the all-in-one recycling provided by Charleston County. Mount Pleasant recently just enacted a plastics moratorium, if you will, that is actually stronger than what we have on the island.
Okay.
And if that's any indication of where the public, as the municipalities are concerned, where they're at, I'd say that that's the direction that these communities would like to go. Like I said, as we've seen, I think it passed in Mount Pleasant by a vote of 7-2. It could have been unanimous. I honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't pay quite attention to what the vote was as much as I saw that it was passed with quite a bit of public support as well as governmental support.
And let me get back to you. Obviously, you're a husband, you're a father, a former volunteer firefighter. Thank you for your service.
Yes.
You're welcome. And a small business owner. But beyond that, who else is Joe Preston?
Hey man, currently I'm trying to become the representative from the 112th district. The 112th district deserves to have that 100% undivided attention, and that's where I'm at right now. Is I'm giving it my 100% undivided attention. Before I came down to meet with you today, we were stuffing envelopes.
Okay.
After I leave here, I'm actually going to go to an event with Charleston County Democratic Women and present myself there.
Okay.
So that's really who I am today, as well as I will be tomorrow. Is trying to earn the respect, so I can ultimately earn the vote of the individuals who are in the 112th district. So that's that. As much as I would like to sit here and be like, well, I'm still a dad. Yes, I'm still a dad. I'm not going to see my kids today, unfortunately, because it's hey, my kids are on a very regimented schedule. We're very big on making sure that our kids grow up proper. And that's another one of the things that you see in the comments sections, the so-called trolls. They like to say that we're letting the kids cry on us on the left, I should say, that we're letting our kids run rampant, and that's not what occurs in our household. My kids go have a very regimented bedtime. They go to bed at 7:30. When they come home, they have their snack and they go ahead and do their homework. So yes, I'm still trying to be the nurturing and disciplinarian father that I can be, but again, trying to give it my undivided attention towards the 112th district, to make sure that we get the representation that we need.
Okay, to be continued. Joe Preston, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
And thank you. Congratulations on your 100th or your 1,000th
1,000th interview.
Oof, and it was a good one.
Thank you greatly. Thank you. Here for public service. Yes.